Hey everyone, this is Joe. Thanks so much for watching. When we aren't looking into popular crime, Heather and I like to examine some of the stranger phenomena that occur in our world, many of which are disappearances like the missing persons cases that we follow. But sometimes these events defy explanation, and oftentimes they lack any direct connection to lawbreaking. We like to call these kinds of cases modern mysteries. Okay, so before we head to Aurora, Texas for this mysterious event, let me just say, if you love mysteries, true crime, and missing persons cases, then you will love our channel. We cover all types of stories and we'll be uploading new videos a couple times a week. So if you enjoy this kind of content, please subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And if you don't mind, please share this video as well. It makes a big difference and we really appreciate it. Okay. Aurora, Texas is a small community 50 or so miles west-northwest of Dallas. The town is located in Wise County, a rapidly growing but still very rural part of the state. However, the close proximity to Dallas meant that the story I'm going to share with you received a fair amount of coverage through the years. But this starts in the 19th century, and let's look at an article published in the Dallas Morning News on April 19, 1897. A windmill demolishes it. Aurora, Wise County, Texas, April 17th. About 6 o'clock this morning, the early risers of Aurora were astonished at the sudden appearance of the airship, which has been sailing through the country. It was traveling due north and much nearer to the earth than ever before. Evidently, some of the machinery was out of order, for it was making a speed of only 10 or 12 miles an hour and gradually settling toward the earth. It sailed directly over the public square, and when it reached the north part of town, collided with the tower of Judge Proctor's windmill and went to pieces with a terrific explosion, scattering debris over several acres of ground, wrecking the windmill and water tank, and destroying the judge's flower garden. The pilot of the ship is supposed to have been the only one on board, and while his remains are badly disfigured, enough of the original has been picked up to show that he was not an inhabitant of this world. Mr. T.J. Weems, the United States Signal Service officer at this place, and an authority on astronomy, gives it as his opinion that he was native of the planet Mars. Papers found on his person, evidently the record of his travels, are written in some unknown hieroglyphics and cannot be deciphered. The ship was too badly wrecked to form any conclusion as to its construction or motive power. It was built of an unknown metal resembling somewhat a mixture of aluminum and silver, and it must have weighed several tons. The town is full of people today who are viewing the wreck and gathering specimens of the strange metal from the debris. The pilot's funeral will take place at noon tomorrow. Written by S.E. Hayden. What makes this case really interesting to me is the claim that this was the 19th century equivalence of fake news. Specifically, that S.E. Hayden made the whole thing up as a means of drawing people to tiny little Aurora. One account notes that this is likely a hoax, is that there was never any follow-up report by Hayden. But I think that assumes people of the late 19th century were eager for more reporting, or that the editors of the Dallas Morning News would even want more news like this. So this requires a little bit of mind reading as to why Hayden never followed up with an additional story. Likewise, we are so far removed that physical evidence is non-existent. One report, as shared by a group called the Mutual UFO Network, shared that some of the wreckage was recovered with a terrible outcome for the man who bought the property in 1935. And quoting now, adding to the mystery was the story of one Mr. Brawley Oates, who purchased Judge Proctor's property around 1945. Oates cleaned out the debris from the well in order to use it as a water source, but later developed an extremely severe case of arthritis, which he claimed to be the result of contaminated water from the wreckage dumped into the well. As a result, Oates sealed up the well with a concrete slab and placed an outbuilding atop the slab. According to the writing on the slab, this was done in 1957. So wreckage of the craft, if there ever was one, is gone. But the story cites a grave, and maybe we can learn something from the remains, or maybe not. The 2007 Houston Chronicle article shared details of the efforts to investigate. And quoting now, in the 1970s, the International UFO Bureau found out about Aurora. Trying to get permission to exhume the body, the private group led by Hayden Hughes of Oklahoma City went to a judge, and the media descended on the small town. It was the first time Aurora had seen this type of attention. Quote, "There was quite a mess," said Aurora resident Karen Tedrow. Quote, "The residents had guns and everything because they didn't want them to do it. And I understand because my parents are buried there and I don't want them digging around. Earthly body or not, they ought to let it rest in peace." Close quote. Further, we learn in the article that the locals know whose remains are in the grave in question. And quoting again from the Chronicle, Rosalie Gregg, executive director of the Historical Society, emerges from her office. A tall, fair-skinned woman with crystal blue eyes, Gregg has lived in Wise County most of her life. Next to the birth and death record, she keeps a box of papers pertaining to the Aurora alien. She says there's a flurry of alien questions every 3 or 4 years. She responds to every query. In the box, there are probably hundreds of typewritten letters that start the same way. Quote, "It didn't happen." Close quote. Hayden wasn't a staff writer, Gregg says, but a stringer who wrote the alien story to foist attention on Aurora, a dying town that had just lost a fight to route a railroad through it. Either way, Gregg says she recorded a conversation with Oscar Lowry, an Aurora resident who was 11 in 1897. Lowry said nothing happened that he would have heard about an event as earth-shaking as a spaceship crash. Quote, "Also, if it had happened, it would have been all over the Decatur newspapers," close quote, which it wasn't. Continues, quote, "Plus we know who's buried there. The family doesn't want anyone to know," close quote. Which means the grave likely does not hold any extraterrestrial remains, and even if there was an alien life form buried in the cemetery, that body will long since have deteriorated. As a result, we have no concrete proof there ever was any unidentified flying object that crashed into a windmill on a judge's property or anywhere or anyone else's for that matter. For its part, the state of Texas, while memorializing the site, does so by saying that the crash was a legend, and Aurora embraces this, calling itself a legendary Western town, while highlighting the windmill and the craft. Multiple organizations have undertaken efforts to investigate to reach some kind of conclusion about whether an extraterrestrial ship landed in North Texas, but those efforts have only illustrated we'll never know what happened. And all of that makes this case a very intriguing modern mystery. We'll be sharing more stories like this and look forward to hearing what you think. Thanks for spending a little time with me today to hear about the legend of the Aurora, Texas UFO. And if this is the first time that you have tuned in, welcome. If you've enjoyed this video, you won't want to miss what we have coming next. So please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you won't miss a thing, and check out one of our other videos, like the one that just popped up on the screen right now. And until next time, stay safe, keep investigating, and we'll see you soon.